Well, sorry about the extended intro music there. I had no browser, I had no live chat, I had no nothing there, but we are back up and ready to go here. And in spite of the fact that we had the extended intro, we still have got a bunch of stuff to get to today. So let's look right into it here before we get started. First, we've got some breaking news about a plane being hijacked over Belarus, so we'll talk a bit about what's going on with that. We do have an official 9/11, or I'm sorry, not 9/11, 1/6 Commission bill headed to the Senate, so we'll talk a bit about what happened there. Fauci says that looks like it's not likely that COVID 19 was created normally, so we'll talk a bit about what's going on there and the fact that he needs to be relevant once again. And Epstein guards are possibly going to skirt some jail time by rolling over, so we'll talk a bit about what could happen there. It's going to be all this and more this morning here over on Contemporary. Hey, 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 do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. A little bit embarrassing, but all the new stuff is here for the new computer except for the processor and the RAM, which are both supposed to show up today. So throughout the week, we'll be getting that all set up, ready to go, and soon, very soon, we will have a new system here. Hopefully, we won't have to deal with any of this crap anymore. But the old HP has done very, very well over here, and I'm very, very happy for how it's turned out throughout everything else. But every once in a while, we get some of these technical hiccups. But we're here and ready to go. Those of you who watch over on the Instagram side, you don't get a lot of this fun stuff over here. Just me sitting here pulling my hair out, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But yeah, for the most part over there, it's done well. But it's time to go. My Note 10 actually is far superior technologically and can handle the streaming, but you know, you ask this little $500 laptop to do a whole bunch of stuff, and it did. But anyway, we're here, we're ready to go, and we have got 35 tabs to get through this morning. We've got a long show today, a definite long one here. A lot of stuff to get to, a lot of stuff to do, and we are going to power through it all. But before we do that, head on over, check out my friends who all transmit out on the Freedom Scoop Media Group. We carry great shows such as The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, and The Freckles and Brit Show. Stick around after the show if you're over on the Twitch side, or join up over on the Twitch side. That is twitch.tv/JEdgar101, and we will go and raid The Daily Ignoramus as well. So come back on over, hang out with us over there, and pardon our dust on the website for freedomscoop.com. We are still under construction right now, so we are going to get that up and running and ready to go, and then you can come over there and help us support great creators. All right, let's look in at your finance for the day. Starting on the Dow, which is at 34,207.84, and it spent most of the day up. I don't know if you guys have noticed this though, because we've been watching where the Dow goes every day since when did I start that? Last April, May, something like that. I started. It wasn't right at the beginning of the crash, but when everyone started talking about it daily, that's when I started talking about it daily, and we've been following it every day since then, with the exception of Jessica Green, who did not follow that when she covered the show for me when I went to Florida. But other than that, yeah, we've been following it every day since then. And I've noticed that every time it goes up, especially this year, every time it goes up like this, it shoots up at the beginning and then just kind of stays stagnant throughout the day. So I don't know if this means that they're trying to artificially do something with this or what it means, but I just watched I'm not an official advisor, so I just watch the patterns and tell you what the patterns are. But yeah, that's where we're sitting here. It shot up and then it just kind of stayed stagnant throughout the rest of the day. As far as your Bitcoin goes, that is back down to 37,855.60. Good news, Bitcoin is on sale. Maybe you should go and get some. Disclaimer, this is not official financial advice by any stretch of the imagination, but if you and your financial advisor believe that this is something that's good for you, then go ahead and check that out. Looks like it's on sale right now, so you'll maybe get a little bit here. And I do think, I have to go with Styx's idea on this as well. I think that this is actually going to go up and up and up and up. So it's something to watch. At least it's something to watch for. I don't have any Bitcoin. I've got Doge. And I might take another coin too. Once again, not official financial advice, but I heard a tip on another one that people are talking about that could go, what do they say? To the moon! So we'll talk a bit about that. All right, as far as gas goes, taking Gas Buddy from Madison, Wisconsin, it looks like we are sitting, possibly having some prices coming down. The Costco in Sun Prairie is at $2.69. The Quick Trips are both at $2.68. Woodman's is at $2.68. So it looks like we're seeing a lot more 260s, but we do still see a couple of them, like the Quick Trip out in Wanakee, that's at 282, and a little bit of 273. So, once we've got some of the pressure off from the pipeline attack down in the southeast, we're going to start to see some of those coming back down because your supply is increasing and your demand is starting to decrease as people stop panic buying. So that's what we're seeing with the gas right now. Still not what we saw last year. Let's see what IBD has to say this morning. Give that just a sec. All right. Dow Jones futures rise in still shaky market rally. Bitcoin rebounds follow Google, Nvidia, and Tesla from Ed Carson. Dow Jones futures rose modestly Monday morning, along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures. Bitcoin tumbled Sunday, but bounced back early Monday. The stock market rally ended up with slim weekly gains or losses in the major indices, but that belies the big daily intraday swings and continued sector rotation. Here are 5 stocks to watch and help get a read on the market rally. Nvidia stock, Google parent Alphabet, Freeport McMoran, recent IPO Roblox, and Tesla. Nvidia is arguably actionable now, breaking a downtrend in range from its 50-day line. However, Nvidia earnings are on tap Wednesday. That earnings report and Nvidia stocks reactions will be important for the broader semiconductor sector. Several chip stocks are on the edge of early entries, including equipment makers ASML. That is not ASMR, by the way. We can whisper. We can pa and do that kind of stuff for the show, but it's not what the stock entry is. I don't have a good ASMR mic anyway, so. In Lam Research, Google stock is perhaps the best looking big cap tech right now. The mega cap is in range from its 10-week line and breaking a short trend line. The relative strength line for Google stock is near a record high as well. Facebook is also looking healthy. FCX stock is still extended, but it's one of the several mining stocks that have struggled over the past couple weeks. Will mining stocks and commodity plays take a breather or keep running? Roblox is just extended after Friday's breakout. Can Roblox stock hold its breakout in the coming days? That would be a good sign for new issues and breakouts generally. And Tesla. Tesla is nowhere near actionable, stuck below its 200-day line. But how Tesla stock fares still matter. If the EV giant rebounded powerfully, it would be a positive sign for highly valued growth stocks. If Tesla stock breaks down, it would spell a much longer slump for the ARK-style companies and weigh on the NASDAQ in a broader rally. All right, let's look at the Bitcoin price here. Bitcoin tumbled to 31,179.69 on Sunday, rebounding to above 37,000 on Monday morning. The Bitcoin price traded Saturday around 37,000, 38,000. Bitcoin was extremely volatile last week, even by its standards, with a massive decline following a big up and down swing. So did Bitcoin rivals such as Ethereum and Doge, both of which are falling sharply on Sunday. Hey, as long as they don't get below 0.3 cents, whatever. It's just $20. Tesla CEO Elon Musk continued to swing Bitcoin up and down over with various tweets, including a Saturday tweet that the true battle between fiat and cryptocurrencies. Meanwhile, China's government issued multiple statements cracking down on using Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Over in the U.S., Treasury wants crypto transactions of $10,000 or more reported to the IRS to crack down on tax evasion. If you make a crypto transaction of more than $1, the Treasury wants that reported to the IRS to crack down on tax evasion. So I would keep that in mind. They're going to get their money no matter what. Bitcoin peaked at 64,829.14 on April 16th. As recently as May 16th, the digital asset traded above 49,000. By Wednesday morning, Bitcoin tumbled to just above 30,000 and then raced back above 40,000 hours later. On Friday, Bitcoin slumped again towards 35,000. With Bitcoin plunging last week, so did related stocks such as Coinbase, the crypto exchange, which came public over a month ago, skidded 13% last week to 224.35, hitting fresh lows. Coinstock debuted by a direct listing on April 16th, hitting 429.54 within a few minutes and then heading lower. Coinbase stock rose modestly early Monday, helped by a new Goldman Sachs buy rating and a 306 price target. All right, let's look at the futures. On the futures, Dow futures rose 0.3% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.5%. Nasdaq 100 futures advanced 0.7%. That suggests Nasdaq will come close to a fresh test of its 50-day line after Friday's negative reversal from just above that key level. China is continuing to crack down on commodity prices, pushing iron futures lower on Monday, and easing global inflation fears. Copper prices edged higher but have cooled off in recent days. Crude oil futures rose modestly. Well, when you're going to jack the gas price up, what do you think is going to happen to your crude? Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. All right, let's see what CNBC has to say, and then we got to get into some breaking news. Even before the big news of the day, some breaking stuff that's happening just this morning. On CNBC, Dow futures jumped more than 150 points to start the week, continue without supporting. Yes, sir. Nasdaq futures gain from Pippa Stevens. U.S. stock index futures traded higher early Monday after the S&P 500 posted its second negative week in a row the previous week. Futures contracts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average implied an opening gain of about 151 points. S&P 500 futures rose 0.5%. Nasdaq 100 futures were up the most, gaining 0.7%. Tech stocks gained in the pre-market, shaking off another rough period for Bitcoin over the weekend as the crypto bounced early Monday. The crypto dropped under 32,000 on Sunday, only to recover back above 36,000 on Monday. On Wednesday, Bitcoin prices tumbled to just above 30,000, dropping to the lowest level since late January. Shares of Tesla, the big holder of the crypto, gained 0.5% in pre-market trading despite the Bitcoin volatility. Coinbase added 2% in pre-market trading as Bitcoin stabilized on Monday, and as Goldman started the crypto exchange with a buy rating. Stocks benefiting from the economic reopening, we've been hearing that for a year at this point, gained in pre-market trading as well. Shares of Gap, Carnival, and UA were higher. We continue to see incremental data points that strengthen our view that when equities break out of this range, the next move is a substantial rise, wrote Tom Lee, head of the research at Fundstrat Global Advisors. Lee cited data showing a collapse in COVID-19 cases. Stocks have stalled lately. The previous week saw the Dow post its fourth negative week in 5, but the losses were minor. The Dow dipped just 0.5% on the week, while the S&P 500 lost 0.4%. The Nasdaq Composite, meanwhile, gained 0.31% last week, snapping a 4-week losing streak. And there's a lot of stuff to look at with that when we go through this and figure out why we're seeing losses like this. There is a lot to look at. One of the big things to look at with the losses, especially over the last 2 weeks, is the fact that one right after another, what do we see? Gas prices jump because of a cyber attack on our gasoline infrastructure, and war in Israel. That would actually take us to 3 weeks back out at this point. Two big things that are going to affect our economy and whether or not we send a bunch of money over to Israel. That's going to affect things. That's definitely going to make that's going to make people wonder about what's going to happen, what our taxes are going to do. Are we going to go back to war? Are we going to have gasoline? Are we going to be able to transport goods? All of this comes back and weighs down. Now, as of right now, there isn't really anything, there's a lot of big news stories out here, don't get me wrong, but there isn't really anything big that could cause people to wonder whether or not they could have a job tomorrow. They could have futures tomorrow, that they could not be drafted tomorrow. There's not a lot that's hanging over the heads this week. So yeah, we're going to naturally start to see a little bit of a rise this week. But we've also got the inflation hanging over everybody's head. I know they're going to have another April meeting at easy monetary policies could be reconsidered if the economy continues to show signs of a rapid improvement, according to minutes from the meeting released last week. And that's another thing, too, is the Fed is sitting over here and manipulating this. We talk about China manipulating the currency. What about Jerome Powell manipulating the currency? Because it looks like he's just as fucking guilty as well. So, a lot of stuff to watch here, a lot of stuff going on. Double check with your financial advisor to see if you are in the best place you can possibly be with your finances, and we will go from there. Let's get into some of the breaking stuff. Starting with CNN. Belarus condemned for hijacking Ryanair plane to detain journalist from Tim Lister. Ryanair Flight 4978 was about to begin its descent into Vilnius, to Vilnius in Lithuania on Sunday when it suddenly changed direction after a security alert turning sharply east and descending towards the capital of Belarus, Minsk. Whether that security alert was a fabrication by the Belarus authorities is now at the heart of an incident which has sparked widespread international condemnation and raised serious questions about the safety in the skies. Some governments have described the incident as a state-sanctioned hijacking. One of the passengers on board the Ryanair flight from Athens to Vilnius was Belarus opposition activist Roman Pratasevich, who was wanted on a variety of charges. For him, the diversion was much more than an inconvenience. As soon as the plane landed, he was arrested, according to the Belarus Interior Ministry. The president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, has been fending off opposition protests since claiming victory last year, after a hotly disputed election widely condemned by the international community. Pratasevich is one of dozens of journalists and activists campaigning in exile against Lukashenko's 26-year rule. He is the founder of the Telegram channel Nexta, which helped mobilize anti-Lukashenko protests, and he was charged last year with organizing mass riots and group actions that grossly violate public order. He is on a government wanted list for terrorism. Just why the plane suddenly changed course depends on whose account one believes. Ryanair says its crew was notified by the Belarus ATC, a potential security threat on board, and were instructed to divert to the nearest airport, which was Minsk. That's not how the Belarus authorities characterized the incident. The deputy commander of Air Defense Forces, Major General Andrei Gertsevich, claimed that after the Ryanair crew were told of a possible bomb on board, it was the captain who made the decision to land at the reserve airfield Minsk II. Gertsevich said a Belarus Air Force jet was dispatched to monitor the flight and assist if necessary. The Belarus version of the events has been met with widespread disbelief and condemnation among the international community, despite an elaborate show of fire trucks when the plane landed, as well as extensive baggage checks. Nothing untoward was found, according to Ryanair. One reason for the skepticism toward the Belarusian authorities' version, when it changed course, the Ryanair Boeing 737 with 171 people on board was much closer to its destination than it was to Minsk. Had there been a bomb on board the plane, to prolong the flight would have been a perverse decision. So there is a ton of stuff going on here. So really, honestly, I don't know, but this is another one in that same region where Biden has a lot of interest in, and so does Mr. Putin. And so do the Ukrainians at this point. This is kind of down in that region of Europe, behind the Iron Curtain. So we're going to have to watch this and see what this goes and what this does and what the American reaction is to this. Like I said, this is breaking. I found this right before we went live. So let's grab another one here from CNBC and talk a bit about what's going on with this. Ryanair CEO says Belarus plane grounded was a state-sponsored piracy, from Sam Meredith. Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary asserted Monday that the decision by Belarusian authorities to divert a plane flying over its territory to arrest a dissident journalist on board constituted state-sponsored piracy. He said he believed Belarusian KGB operatives were traveling on the scheduled flight from Athens for Vilnius, Lithuania. It appears the intent of the authorities was to remove a journalist and his traveling companion. We believe there were some KGB agents offloaded at the airport as well, O'Leary told Irish News Talk Radio. He said that he believed the incident was likely the first of its kind for a European airline. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that this is the first of its kind ever. I can't imagine if this has happened before. We haven't heard of this. This is kind of scary, the fact that they're going to do this. And hey, they'll give our government a little bit of idea too. This was a case of state-sponsored hijacking, state-sponsored piracy, he said. Belarus on Sunday ordered military to scramble a fighter jet to force the Ryanair plane to change course and land in a capital city, citing a potential security threat on board. State media in Belarus said President Alexander Lukashenko had personally given the order. CNBC contacted the Wow, I'm having trouble with that word today. Belarusian Foreign Ministry for comment Monday, but it has yet to receive a reply. Police arrested political activist and blogger Roman Protasevich, 26, when passengers disembarked. His girlfriend, Sofia Sapega, a 23-year-old Russian citizen studying at European Humanities University in Lithuania, was also detained, according to reports. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said via Twitter on Sunday that the outrageous and illegal behavior of the regime in Belarus will have consequences, adding those responsible must be sanctioned. Yeah, this is going to get fun, and we're going to see probably some stuff react off of this, but yeah, that's a little bit scary, and they don't have a First Amendment over there on that side of the world either, so that's something else to pay attention to with this. Belarusian. So we will continue to watch this and see what happens as this develops. All right, let's grab one other breaking one here before we get in and talk about the 1-6 Commission. Oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world. Another one from CNN for you guys. Black Lives Matter activist in critical condition after being shot in the head in London. From Jesse Ewing and Maria Fleet. British Black Lives Matter activist Sasha Johnson is in critical condition after being shot in the head in London, her political party said on Sunday. It is with great sadness that we inform you that our own Sasha Johnson has been brutally attacked and sustained a gunshot wound to her head, the Taking the Initiative party said in a statement. She is currently in intensive care and in critical condition. The party said the attack happened following numerous threats as a result of her activism. London's Metropolitan Police responded to reports of gunfire in the southeast London at about 3 a.m. local time Sunday morning, it said in a statement. Police said paramedics transported a 27-year-old woman with a gunshot wound to a South London hospital, and that the incident appeared to have happened near a house party in Southwark. Police statements said that at this early stage of investigation, there was no evidence to suggest a targeted attack or that the woman had received any credible threats against her prior to this incident. Detectives from the Met Specialist Crime Command are conducting an investigation and looking to speak with anyone who was at the party in the Concert Road area of London, it added. A dedicated team of detectives is working tirelessly to identify the person or persons responsible for the shooting, said Detective Chief Inspector Jim Telley. He added that they need the public's help and urged people to come forward if they witnessed or had heard information about the incident. So, as of right now, no confirmation as to who did this, but, I mean, honestly, I'm sure that BLM has gained enemies on all parts of the world. And this is probably moving a little bit closer to some sort of unrest, civil war, or world war, because the other sides are taking shots at each other. Definitely some more stuff to watch as we move into this. All right, let's talk about the 1-6 Commission. Starting today with NBC News, House narrowly passes $1.9 billion bill to bolster Capitol security after the January 6th attack. From Rebecca Shabbat, the House on Thursday narrowly passed a $1.9 billion emergency spending measure to boost security for the U.S. Capitol complex and other government agencies that responded to the January 6th attack on the building. In an effort to improve the response to a future incident, the bill would reallocate $18 million to provide body cameras to the U.S. Capitol police officers who interact with the general public, buy riot control equipment, and strengthen intelligence and training. The bill passed the House 213 to 212, with 3 Democrats voting present and 3 opposing the bill. The 3 Democrats who voted against the bill were Representatives Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, Cori Bush of Missouri, and Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts. The 3 Democrats who voted present were the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D. Twitch, Jamal Bowman of New York, and Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. They are all members of the so-called Squad, a group of the most liberal lawmakers in the House. Opposition to the bill largely stemmed from a provision allocating more funds to the police, which would run contrary to calls on the left to defund the police. There are things about the bill that I support, like making sure our custodial staff and our cleaners have the resources they need to respond and deal with this trauma, but there are other parts of it that I don't support, like adding more funds to police budgets, Bowman said, so that's why I decided to vote present. No Republicans supported the bill. Under the bill, Architect of the Capitol would receive about $529 million to install new cameras around the Capitol and surrounding office buildings, for new screening vestibules, and to upgrade accessible windows and doors to these buildings. The House Surgeon-at-Arms would receive about $21 million to enhance security and threat assessments for members of Congress, for coordination of security for lawmakers when they travel, and for the installation of cameras in members' districts, offices back home. So a lot of surveillance stuff, a lot of stuff in this with funding out the police, and yeah, it passed by 1 in the House. And that actually makes me curious to what's going to happen in the Senate too, because now we sit back here, and the biggest complaint that we had with this was, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. This could just be a 50-50 thing, and we've got to get Manchin, everybody. It's got to pass the filibuster. There's not going to be any Republican supporting. Blah this, blah that, blah 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 blah. And now with the big defund the police movement, and I've said this numerous times too. When they sit back and they hold the Capitol Police up on the pedestal, they're sainted, they're anointed, there are amazing Capitol Police officers. Well, what happened to all cops are bastards? That went away real quick when it was cops that you control. So, honestly, really, and I completely disagree with the sentiment. I never want to generalize a demographic of people, whether it be their career, their skin color, or anything else, as all the same. But really, honestly, good on AOC, Bowman, Tlaib, Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar. Good on these people for at least being consistent in their ideology. That they're not just blowing with the wind because they're under the thumb and control of Nancy Pelosi. Good on them. Absolutely, good on them. They at least have consistency on this. I don't agree with it, but they have consistency on this. So, wow. I can't believe I'm agreeing with these people. That's 3 times in a week. Because the week doesn't start until tonight's show, when the first time I agreed with the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez D-Twitch. But yeah, absolutely. All right, let's grab one here from the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness. Op-ed, the threat of violence is now infused in GOP politics. We should all be afraid, honk. This is an opinion from Michael Gerson. American politics is being conducted under threat of violence. Representative Liz Cheney, who has a talent for constructive bluntness, describes a political atmosphere within the GOP heavy with fear. If you look at the vote to impeach, she said recently, there were members who told me that they were afraid for their own security, afraid in some instances for their lives. The events of January 6th have only intensified the alarm when Donald Trump insists he is still the rightful president. I don't know when he said that. Cheney wrote in an op-ed for the Post. He repeats these words now with full knowledge that exactly this type of language provoked violence on January 6th, and there's good reason, Cheney argued, to believe that Trump's language can provoke violence again. The dog whistles! The dog whistles! Sometimes political events force us to step back in awe or horror, or both. The former third-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives has accused a former president of her party employing the threat of violence as a tool of intimidation, and election officials around the country, Republican and Democrat, can attest to the results: death threats, racist harassment, armed protesters at their homes. Really? Because that goes both ways. And I mentioned this on Friday too. If you're afraid of death threats, then you're in the wrong line of work, because that's nothing new. That is absolutely nothing new. It's wrong, and I hate the fact that it happens, but it's nothing new. Aren't protesters at their homes? How many times did we see protesters going to Mitch McConnell's home? Where's my money? And I know that he's not a politician either, but what about when they tried to bust down the door at Tucker Carlson's house? And you're worried about one little selfie fest at the Capitol? But here's the reality of this, and I've gone back and forth on this, and some of the people on the left have started to see the light on this too. You know, they're coming out here. We will not be afraid. Why are you trying to make us afraid? We shall not be afraid. We can't be afraid of this kind of stuff. Well, let's be realistic about this. Let's actually sit down and be realistic about what's going on here. What's happening with this and what this means from this. The Washington Post, for 4 years, made its money on selling fear to you. That, with one wrong move, the evil orange person in the White House could stand up and he could end your abortion rights. Oh my God. He could put dissidents in jail. Oh my God. And we'll talk a bit about that later too. He could put every dissident in jail. He could take away everything from you. He could force you to be chained to the stove. Oh my God. And in reality, it's just them trying to sell another click. Because every time they come to fear, and there's a reason this article is archived here. There's a couple reasons, because they don't let you watch unless, they don't let you read unless you have their wonderful subscription. And if you have your ad blocker on, it could be more horrible. That's one of the reasons it's archived. But number two, I'm going to rob them of a click. And what do we got? 6 people watching right now over on all the platforms right now. Right here, there's 6 people that don't have to click on this, that are getting the information out of this article, that don't have to click on this. Rob them of their subscriptions and their ad revenue. Fuck them. Because that's all they want to do is sell another click. To get their base all riled up and raged up. And then they get another click off of this. What should I be afraid of, Mr. Washington Post? We're told by all our political elites to trust you. In spite of the fact that you're owned by Jeff Bezos, who's a billionaire who you're supposed to hate. We're supposed to trust you. You're the most trusted name in news. Just tell us what to think. We don't want to think. It's hard to think. Tell us what to think. Well, this is them trying to make sure that everybody's still afraid because, let's face it, the mainstream media lost a big source of their revenue when they elected Biden. And there is a bunch of stuff to cover on Biden, too. Like, the guy is a royal fuck-up. But they also know that the left will go after them faster than the right will. And shut them down even faster. So, we'll see what's happening with that. Alright, let's grab another one here from The Hill. The Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez de-Twitch. Go away. 60 seconds difference on January 6th could have ended in a martial state. From Lexi Lonis. The Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez de-Twitch said that a 60-second difference during the January 6th Capitol Selfie Fest could have ended in a martial state. During an interview with Latino USA published on Friday, the progressive firebrand described the ways in which former Vice President Mike Pence's safety was jeopardized and the implications the attack could have had on the election certification process. Pence was taken out of the Senate chamber something like 60 seconds before these insurrectionists got into the Senate chamber, Ocasio-Cortez told the outlet's reporter Maria Hinojosa. Hinojosa. They don't pronounce the H in that language. You know, I took Spanish for 4 years in high school, and I should remember all this stuff. Mike Pence was the one person, arguably, that had the most important roles in making sure this procedurally, the electoral college counts went on as proceeded. 60 seconds could have meant potentially the difference between what we have right now and a martial state, she added. No, that's not true. Because there are safeguards in place for that. And Nancy Pelosi could have stepped up to count the votes. This wouldn't have been a martial state, and I don't understand where you think that this could have been a martial state. I mean, yes, I'm sure there were idiots out there that believed that if Mike Pence were to be incapacitated, then the count wouldn't happen. But then what happens? The president's term expires at noon on January 20th. They still had 2 weeks to figure out what the fuck to do with this. And Trump wouldn't have been the president. You know who the president would have been at noon on January 20th if they couldn't count the Electoral College votes? The next person in line who has been elected, who's been certified in her election in the chain of succession. If they'd have taken out Pence, constitutionally, by what I understand of the Constitution, now, I'm not a constitutional law scholar, but from reading through this and understanding the chain of succession, the amendment that concerns that, and Article 2, Nancy Pelosi would have assumed the presidency on January 20th had they not been able to certify Biden. Because Trump's term would have expired, and he wouldn't have just carried over into another term. So, and this is just another thing of mongering fear, trying to make sure everyone's afraid of the evil orange man and populism, and the government working for the people that pay them. These people, like the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez D. Twitch, want desperately to just serve their corporate overlords who are paying them and not the people on the ground, the little people. As much as she tries to tell you that she is for the little people, she is not. She is another swamp creature at this point. And she's going to be there for the rest of her career too. Snapping and saying, "Ay papi." Let's grab the article for the title of this particular program, shall we? From TMZ. Q Shaman. Judge orders him to get a psych exam. Competency questioned. Dude, that dude's competency is not questioned at all. He has none. You don't need a psych exam to figure that out. One of the most infamous faces of the Capitol insurrection, the bare-chested shaman with horns and face paint, is going to get his head checked to see if he's competent to stand trial. He's not. I don't even have a psych degree, and I can tell you that he's not. Jake Angeli, who many know as QAnon Shaman, was just ordered to be hauled off to a federal facility for psych eval. According to new court docs, the court says the psych exam will be conducted by a licensed or certified psychiatrist or psychologist who will be looking into Angeli's mental health. According to the docs obtained by TMZ, Angeli's legal proceedings will hit pause while the feds figure out if he's competent to stand trial. He's not. As we reported, Angeli was arrested a few days after the Capitol Selfie Fest on charges of knowingly entering, remaining in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority, violent entry, and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. Prosecutors say that he called the FBI and confessed to being the man wearing the Viking garb, roaming the Capitol with a spear and a flag. Angeli is also the same dude who reportedly whined about not being able to eat in federal custody due to lack of organic food options, meeting his strict diet. Yeah, this dude's a fucking nutcase. Better to get him up off of the general public as quickly as possible. And furthermore, he has confessed to this, so he deserves everything that he get. Anything that he done, if he had been picked up, could have been pled down into simple trespass, possibly an extended sentence, not a sentence, but an extended charge for trespass of a federal building, but it would have been trespass either way. All this violent stuff, there was nothing there for. There were people who were violent, and they also need to be taken into custody as quickly as possible, but the people like this asshole were not violent about this. The Capitol Police let them in. And he went in and said a prayer. But he also confessed to saying, I violently went into the Capitol, so Get him off. He deserves everything he gets. And disbar his fucking lawyer, too. Alright, let's keep going. I got one from Fox for you. Shifting gears here, talking away from the Capitol Selfie Fest and talking about the old in chief. From Fox News, Biden admin drops plan for ICE deportation pause after legal defeat. From Adam Shaw. The Biden admin has dropped its effort to impose a 100-day moratorium on immigrations and custom enforcement deportations after a legal effort from Texas blocked the Biden campaign promise from taking place. With the admin saying it's time, the time to go forward. Blech! Wow, I can't talk again this morning. Hang on, we're going to autoplay.
This is both a humanitarian crisis.
Get rid of that. Nobody likes them. The Biden admin has dropped its effort to impose a 100-day moratorium on ICE deportations after a legal effort from Texas blocked the Biden campaign promise from taking place, with the admin saying the time for it to go into effect has now passed. Then candidate Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. has promised to pause deportations, with very few exceptions, during the 2020 campaign on Inauguration Day. Then acting Homeland Security Secretary David Peskoski signed a memo that included such a pause to go into effect on January 22nd. Texas immediately sued, eventually winning the legal battle, when a federal judge placed the indefinite block on the policy. The 100-day period during which DHS would have paused the execution of certain final removal orders has now otherwise expired and would no longer be in effect under the terms of the memo. The DHS statement said DHS does not intend to extend or reinstate a policy requiring such a pause on the execution of final orders of removal of any non-citizens. The May 5th release, which does not appear on DHS's press release page, was first reported by BuzzFeed News. It is unlikely, however, to stop the legal battle over ICE policies. The admin went on to issue ICE guidance that dramatically narrows the enforcement priorities to recent border crossers, aggravated felons, and national security threats, guidance that has coincided with a dramatic drop in ICE arrests and deportations. Republican states such as Arizona and Montana have sued over the guidance, arguing that it is an effort to achieve the same results as the 100-day deportation moratorium, and that it would lead to an increase in criminals, drugs, and COVID-19 in their states, and it is a violation of the federal law. They also claim it would lead to an increase in health care and other public assistance costs in the states. And there are ways around that too, but I do hate the fact that they come out and just say that this is just going to increase criminality, which statistically it's going to. But that shouldn't be the only reason you're going against this. We do need to change our immigration system so that people can get in and get in the right way, especially at situations where they don't have documents from their home country because they're dirt poor and they can't get access to the documents. Get some of these people on a path to coming in. And I would love it if they did this under a Republican president. Not amnesty, but a path. An actual legitimate path and immigration reform so we can do a legitimate path. So these people don't have to be illegal anymore. Especially given the fact that people like Biden are not looking. And this is the big thing too, because people like those in Montana and Texas will come out and say that this is a way that the Democrats think that they will never lose an election again. They're doing this because they want to get all these brand new voters in. Bring them in and let them vote illegally. No, that's not the case. They don't want these people to vote legally. They don't want them to vote illegally either. They don't want them to come in and vote because then everyone knows who they are and they get a say in this. They want slave labor so that ICE can look at this and say, oh, you want to complain about your job with our big business buddies? Oh, hey, well, you're gone. You're across the border again. You made yourself known because you complained about your wage. This has nothing to do with voting. This is an underclass slave class to take the jobs away that would normally go to U.S. people. And yes, they're jobs that people wouldn't do otherwise in the U.S. I will admit to that. But with these jobs out there, you're driving the American wage down because these people will work for sub-minimum wage prices because they have no one to complain to as illegals. So, we will see what happens with that. Let's grab one from the New York Post. Notre Dame commencement goes ahead without Biden after backlash from Samuel Chamberlain. The University of Notre Dame held their commencement ceremony this weekend with the notable absence of one very important guest, President Biden. The Catholic News Agency reported earlier this month that Biden, the second Catholic president in American history, was invited to give remarks to new graduates but could not attend due to scheduling conflicts. Word of the invitation caused backlash among the Notre Dame students and alumni, with more than 4,400 of whom signed an open letter urging the university, President John Jenkins, not to invite the Democratic president, even though Biden made clear he wasn't coming. Biden rejects the church teachings on abortion, marriage, sex, and gender, and is hostile towards religious liberty, read the letter. He embraces the most pro-abortion and anti-religious liberty public policy program in history. The case against honoring him is immeasurably stronger than it was against honoring President Barack Obama in 2009, an action that alienated countless Catholics and brought upon Notre Dame the harsh criticism of 83 cardinals, archbishops, and bishops. The letter specifically cited Biden's opposition to the Hyde Amendment prohibiting federal funding of the abortion, a position he announced during the 2020 Democratic primary campaign. It also cited Biden's support for Planned Parenthood, same-sex marriage, and the Equality Act. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Now, yeah, of course, he went up. I have to wonder if they didn't come back and schedule him out there so they could say, "Oh, well, you can't fire me, man. Man, I quit. I'm not going to be there no matter how much you guys don't want me there. Because this is my choice. This isn't your choice." And that speaks to a level of bullshit up among everything. I don't believe for a second that he had a scheduling conflict. You're going to speak at the commencement of one of the biggest universities in this country, with the big pride point of the fact that you're only the second Catholic president in history. I call bullshit. You heard the fact that they were going to disinvite you, and you tried to get out ahead of this. That's what happened with this. I can almost guarantee that. But sure, tell me a little bit more of your bullshit about, "Oh, come on, man. No, it's just a scheduling conflict, man." Fuck off. Fuck all the way off with that bullshit. All right, let's grab one from the Dissociated Press, as long as we're talking about Biden. Biden, South Korea's moon, deeply concerned about North Korea. From Amr Madani, Darlene Superville, and Zeke Miller. President Biden on Friday said he and South Korean President Moon Jae-in remain deeply concerned about the situation in North Korea and announced that he will deploy a new special envoy to the region to help refocus efforts on pressing Pyongyang to abandon its nuclear weapons program. Moon, meanwhile, welcomed America's return to the world stage, and both leaders pledged in their meeting to work closely towards denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Biden told the joint news conference with Moon that he was dispatching career diplomat Sung Kim, who had previously served as ambassador to South Korea, to serve as the special envoy to the region. Moon said the move by Biden reflects the firm commitment of the U.S. for exploring diplomacy and its readiness for dialogue with North Korea. Biden also announced that the U.S. would vaccinate 550,000 South Korean service members who serve alongside U.S. forces on the peninsula. There's that vaccine again. This marks the first commitment by the Biden admin for what it plans to do with the 80 million vaccine doses it aims to distribute globally within the next 6 weeks. Biden has said he hopes to use domestically produced vaccines as a modern-day arsenal of democracy. Gross. A reference to the U.S. effort to arm allies in World War II. At the same time, the White House has pledged not to attach policy conditions to countries receiving the doses as global vaccine diplomacy heats up. Moon came to Washington seeking renewed diplomatic urgency by the U.S. on curbing North Korea's nuclear program, even as the White House signaled that it is taking a longer view on the issue. The two also discussed coordination on vaccine distribution, climate change, and regional security concerns spurred on by China. So much going on with this, and so much wrong. I love the fact that they're looking to Biden for diplomacy when, I know it's a meme, but Kim Jong-un basically come out and said, "No, go away. Bring back dumb orange man with hot wife." He's not going to talk to these people. In fact, he's going to come out and shake his saber and build more nukes. Because he can get away with it. As China's diplomatic envoy is coming out and telling Anthony Blinken to fuck himself on U.S. soil. Diplomacy with North Korea. Fuck you. You dumb fucks. All of you. I can't believe this is the way our world is going, but it is what it is. All right. Speaking of welcoming President Moon, VP Kamala Harris hosts South Korean President Moon Jae-in for a bilateral meeting. Let's have a look at what that looked like.
It is my honor to meet you, Mr. President, and I enjoyed very much our conversation before we came in this room. At a time when our world faces increasing threats to our health, security, and climate, it is more important than ever that the United States and the Republic of Korea work closely together.
생각합니다. 잠시 전에 저희가 저 뒷방에서 나누었던 대화도 굉장히 즐거웠던 대화였다라고 생각이 되고요. 먼저 세계가 지금 보건, 안보, 기후 등의 점증하는 위협에 당면하고 있는 상황에서 미국과 한국이 함께 긴밀히 공조하는 것은 그 어느 때보다도 중요하다라고 생각합니다.
We are connected through our shared democratic and economic values, as well as through friendships, family, culture, and history. In fact, the largest Korean diaspora outside of Asia, I think outside of Korea actually, is where I live, in Los Angeles, California. And across our nation, Korean Americans are leaders in medicine, academics, entertainment, business, and politics.
양국은 공통의 민주적인 그리고 경제적인 가치 그리고 우애와 가족, 문화와 역사로 연결이 되어 있습니다. 아시아 이해 지역, 사실은 한국 이외 지역이라고 해야 정확할 것 같은데 가장 많은 한국인 재외 동포들이 거주하고 있는 곳이 바로 제 고향인 캘리포니아 주입니다. 미국 전역에서 한국계 미국인들은 의학, 학계, 연예계, 경제, 정치 등 각계각층의 리더로서 활약하고 있습니다.
Globally, our alliance is critical.
All right, that's enough of that. I have a question. Why is the vice president doing this again? Because she did the same thing with Shinzo Abe. I mean, other than the fact that I would hate to be the translator who has to go back and try to make President Biden's babble into something that's in South Korean or Korean. On top of that, why is the vice president doing this? I mean, we know the answer, but seriously, this is... If I was the head of state, if I was the president of another country and I came in and I wasn't received by the president, I would be insulted. Especially under Asian politics too, because you do need to show a sign of strength to compete in Asian politics, and we don't have a... We're not sitting from a position of strength right now. But, yeah, that was the reception there. Let's grab one here from CNBC for you guys. Biden rejects Trump's approach to North Korea, says he won't give Kim Jong-un international recognition. From Christina Wilkie. President Biden on Friday rejected his predecessor's approach to North Korea and said his goal as president was to receive a total denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Wait a second. Wasn't Kamala Harris from Oakland, not Los Angeles? I just caught this, thinking back to that speech we just listened to. She's not from Los Angeles. She's from Oakland. Which is arguably worse, but... Another lie. President Biden, on Friday, rejected his predecessor's approach to North Korea and said his goal as president was to achieve a total denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Speaking at a joint press conference with South Korean President Moon Jae-in, Biden used the example of former President Trump's high-profile meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to illustrate what Biden, would never do. Come on, man. If there was a commitment on which we met, I would meet with Kim, said Biden. And the commitment has to be that there would be discussion about his nuclear arsenal. Yeah, but he's not going to meet with you. That's the problem. What I would not do is what's been done in the recent past, the president said. I would not give him all he's looking for, international recognition as legitimate, and give him what allowed him to move in a direction appearing to be more serious about what he wasn't at all serious about. Trump held 3 high-profile meetings with Kim, one in Singapore in June of 2018, another in Hanoi the following February, and the last one in June of 2019. During the third meeting, Trump took several steps into the North Korean soil, becoming the first American president to do so. All 3 meetings between Trump and Kim were ostensibly focused on denuclearization, yet rather than reduce his stockpile, Kim doubled his country's arsenal of nuclear weapons during the 4 years Trump was president. Citation needed, please. Biden and Moon pledged to work together to continue the efforts to denuclearize North Korea. Oh, this is going to end well. As part of this process, Biden announced Friday that Ambassador Sung Kim will serve as U.S. Special Envoy for North Korea. Sung Kim is a career diplomat and former ambassador to South Korea. He was recently nominated to be Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia and Pacific Affairs. Another important topic during Biden and Moon's meeting on Friday was their country's ongoing response to the commie fucking coup. South Korea is currently experiencing a shortage of coronavirus vaccines. Approximately 7% of South Koreans have received at least one shot of the vaccine, according to data by the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency. So, he's going to make him a bunch of grand promises that I guarantee you he's not going to be able to keep, because Kim Jong-un is not going to let him anywhere into that country. He's going to make a whole bunch of grand promises, and then he's just going to fall flat. And soon Kim might wind up dead. And he's going to bribe South Korea with the commie coup vaccine. Good job. All right, let's grab another one from the New York Post. How much more old and chief stuff do I have? Just one more. This is the last one. Biden to host family of George Floyd at the White House, from John Levine. President Biden will host the family of George Floyd at the White House on Tuesday as his administration gears up to mark the 1-year anniversary of Floyd's death. It's not a religion, folks. Just trust us, it's not a religion. In her daily briefing on Friday, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki declined to offer additional details of how Biden planned to mark the anniversary, the Associated Press reported. Floyd died on May 25, 2020, after then Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin attempted to arrest him. During the bust, Chauvin kneeled on the prone Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes. Citation needed, please. Though Floyd had been a drug user and suffered from a heart condition, the Hennepin County medical examiner ruled the death a homicide. Citation needed, please. In a much-awaited watch trial, Chauvin was convicted of the second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. He will be sentenced on June 16th. The city of Minneapolis paid the Floyd family $27 million in a legal settlement. His death sparked months of blah, 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 blah. Anyway, these people are religious figures now, and they're going to the White House. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? All right, let's grab another one here. From Politico. Trump Justice Department seized CNN records tied to correspondence, phone, and email. It's still Trump. He's still watching us. From Ben Leonard. President Trump's Justice Department secretly obtained a CNN reporter's records related to phone calls and email, the network said on Thursday. CNN reported that the department informed Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr last week about the move, in which prosecutors were able to get email and phone-related records for 2 months in 2017. Those records included both her personal and work phones and emails. A Justice Department spokesperson, Anthony Coley, confirmed to Politico on Thursday that the legal process to get the records was approved last year, but he did not explain why the records were sought. The news comes less than 2 weeks after the Washington Post reported that Trump's Justice Department secretly got 3 Post reporters' phone records and tried to get their email logs. The move was an apparent bid to uncover the sources for a story in 2017 on a federal investigation into alleged links between Russia and the then president's campaign. Well, I'd like to see your sources. I'm sure the American people would as well. But I'm guessing here, with the fact that everything is so locked down and everything, that they got fucking jack shit to begin with. And yes, this was wrong to do. This was absolutely wrong to do, and you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that to journalists no matter what. No intimidation, no records. And that goes too for Kamala Harris, and these are the reporters that are friendly to the Harris administration, or Joe Biden, or Barack Obama, or W, or any of the fucking rest of them who have been doing this. They've been doing this since Nixon, just so you know. And probably before. I bet you Kennedy had a little bit of knowledge of this too. But they're going to come back, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to try to tell you how horrible this is. Speaking of CNN, let's grab one from them. From CNN, another ballot audit set to move ahead in Fulton County, Georgia, as judge rules absentee ballots can be unsealed. From Sarah Murray, Jason Morris, Diane Gallagher, and Frederica Schouten on CNN. Yet another ballot audit is set to move ahead in Georgia's most populous county after a judge ruled on Friday that absentee ballots could be unsealed for parties looking to examine them for evidence of fraud. The review of Fulton County's absentee ballots, which is not set to begin until the judge reviews the terms of the audit, comes as conservatives have clamored for election results, or audits rather, in a number of states in the wake of former President Trump's November loss. The baseless beliefs that there was widespread fraud has persisted among some Republicans despite the lack of evidence. Yep, they're going to try and get out ahead of this one too. Just like they did with Maricopa County. Get out ahead of it. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Get out ahead of it. So, just in case it does find something, we can already say it's been disproven. Just like they're doing in Maricopa County too. If they had nothing to hide, they wouldn't be clamoring over this one as hard as they are. But regardless, they're clamoring over this one to get out ahead of it and to be able to say that, see, we told you there was nothing there. Look, there's nothing there. And honestly, with this, it's just another big self-serving bullshit story. It really is at this point. They're going to keep fucking around with this until Nancy Pelosi is the president. You watch. It's going to happen. And that's the hardest part for this, and for the Trumpers especially to believe. They believe that if the election gets overturned, then Donald becomes the rightful president again. No. President Biden was inaugurated at this point. He is the president. His removal means that the presidency goes to the next person in line of succession. However, because the next person in line of succession ran on the same ticket as him, she would be subject to the same audits and the same removal procedures. Most likely, and this would take a Supreme Court ruling on this, but most likely, given the way the Constitution is written, she would be removed at the same time. Most likely. I can't guarantee that would be what would happen. But most likely she would be removed at the same time, which means that who's the next person in succession? It's not Trump. It's Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. But yeah, keep fucking around until you get this overturned. All right, let's grab one from the New York Post. Fauci not convinced COVID developed naturally, backs investigation, from Mark Moore. See, they started looking into him now, and now he wants the investigation. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the top advisor for President Biden on the coronavirus pandemic, said he's not convinced that the deadly virus developed naturally, and has called for further investigations into where it emerged. Fauci was asked during a Pointer event, United Facts of America, a festival of fact-checking earlier this month, about whether he was confident that the commie coup developed naturally. No, actually, I'm not convinced about that. I think we should continue to investigate what went on in China until we continue to find out the best of our ability what happened, said Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, according to Fox News. Certainly, the people who investigated it say it likely was the emergence of an animal reservoir that then infected individuals. But it could have been something else, and we need to find that out. So, that's the reason I said I'm perfectly in favor of any investigation, and that looks into the origin of the virus, he added. The coronavirus was first reported in the Chinese city of Wuhan in December of 2019, and many believe it could have begun in a lab there and escaped. But people are starting to look into this guy, and now he wants to direct this off and say, "Oh no, I supported this the whole time. Just trust me on that." All right, let's grab one now that we're talking about the coof from the Orlando Sentinel. Fired pandemic data manager, fierce critic of Florida's governor, decides not to run for Congress. Via Fresh Take Florida, no author given. Rebecca Jones, the former Florida Health Department employee who filed a whistleblower lawsuit accusing political leaders of firing her in a dispute over the state's pandemic numbers, has decided not to run for Congress next year, she said. Jones said in an interview that she did not feel safe enough to run in Florida, where she faces an upcoming felony hacking trial, and did not feel prepared enough to run in Maryland, where she now lives with her family. Jones also said she's working on an upcoming book and a documentary, and this week she tweeted that she intends to finish work on her doctoral degree. It should be done by spring of 2023, she wrote. Jones has an ardent public following and demonstrated ability to raise money from supporters with more than 400,000 followers on Twitter, and regularly has appeared on cable television to criticize Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. Over 7 months, Jones raised more than $562,000 from supporters to pay her legal costs and expenses associated with publishing pandemic data on her own website. Which that should be free and fair and open too. I'm not going to lie. Jones said in an interview she expects to campaign actively on behalf of Democrats, including supporting the campaign of Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Fried against DeSantis. Fried, a vocal supporter of Jones, was expected to run for governor next year. DeSantis was widely expected to run for the White House in 2024. And that's going to be the big campaign that goes against DeSantis, too. And they're going to do the same thing to him that they did to Scott Walker. Mr. DeSantis, will you commit, if you win this election, to staying in Florida? See? He won't commit to it. See? He might just take and cut and run again. They did the same thing to Walker in 2016. So, I mean, with that, if you want to run, then fucking run. Just do it. And if you don't, go watch The Price is Right. This is a complete fucking nothing story. This woman, she should have blew the whistle. Absolutely should have. I don't necessarily trust the legitimacy of her numbers, but she absolutely should have blown the whistle. The government needs to be transparent. The government always needs to be transparent. And they did do her fucking dirty by just rushing in with guns pointed over this one. That did scream of intimidation. That's a problem. But this woman doesn't really deserve the audience that she has either. Just because she says mean stuff about Republicans. That's the only reason she has an audience. Let's grab one here from Fox. Doing what they complain to CNN about doing.
The honor system. The honor.
Shut up, Nancy. CNN avoids any mention of Rebecca Jones after report demolishes her fake conspiracies its anchors promoted. From Joseph A. Wolfson. CNN went all week avoiding the so-called whistleblower who was heavily promoted last year by the network after a devastating report demolished her fake conspiracies against Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. National Review senior writer Charles C.W. Cook wrote a devastating piece last Thursday that concluded that Rebecca Jones, a former state health official in Florida who claimed that she was pressured by the DeSantis administration to alter the state's data in order to push her reopenings, single-handedly managed to convince millions of Americans that what she said was true despite not having any evidence. Cook outlined Jones's history of her shady behavior and poked holes in her story, including the major revelation that she did not have the ability to edit the raw data in Florida's COVID database. The report also accused her of highly dramatizing the police visit she had late last year as a result of a valid search warrant. However, much of the media elevated her profile and seemed to take her conspiracy at face value, as Jones received plenty of fanfare on CNN and MSNBC. While Cook was invited on MSNBC's Morning Joe to discuss his reporting on Monday, CNN turned a blind eye. And yes, this is exactly what people like Ben Shapiro, and people over on Fox News, they accuse CNN of doing this. Don Lemon has the Fox News reporting show, and we've got all these people who are watching these networks to come back and report on what we say. It's bullshit. We know they're going to cover up for somebody who's with them, and that's just the name of politics at this point. Let's grab one from the Associated Press. COVID-19 vaccine does not spread by inhalation or skin contact. I've got this one here, and I've got this one from the USA Today as well, that are basically both coming up and saying, hey, we're going to debunk all these crazy conspiracy theories that Republicans had. Look at me, I'm going to debunk it so hard, you guys. So hard, I'm going to debunk. From Arijeta Lachka. Claim Pfizer admits that its COVID-19 clinical trials protocol document that vaccinated people can shed the vaccine, emitting materials that can spread the unvaccinated people by inhalation or skin contact. False. COVID-19 vaccines that are in use, including the Pfizer vaccine, cannot spread between people. Posts making the false claim are misrepresenting the standard language in the protocol document intended to protect pregnant women and monitor their potential exposure during the clinical trials. Yeah, everybody knew that who knew how vaccines worked. You're not shedding spike proteins. That's not how vaccines work. And another one here from the USA Today. Fact check. Businesses can legally ask if patrons have been vaccinated. HIPAA does not apply. From Devon Link. As mask wearing and social distancing guidelines relax for fully vaccinated people, businesses are navigating how to implement new policies in their stores. Many businesses are ending mask requirements only for fully vaccinated customers. Vaccine opponents, including Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is at Plant, are using the occasion to resurrect the false claim that the HIPAA federal privacy law protects individuals from being asked about their vaccination status. It absolutely does, but they're going to keep putting this out too because that also fits their little narrative that they love so much. On May 18th, several GOP members refused to wear masks on the House floor in defiance of House rules on mask wearing, including Greene. When asked whether she was vaccinated, Greene told reporters that asking about her vaccine status was a HIPAA violation. Greene is not the only one spreading this claim, which has spread widely on social media in recent days. The rule is simple. HIPAA protects every American from disclosing any of their health records to anyone, claims an image posted on Instagram on May 13th. That's actually true. The poster clarified she was referring to vaccine and mask requirements in her caption. If anyone asks for your vax status, tell them they have no right to know, she wrote. This is authoritarianism, by the way, literally communistic. Well, let's not go that far. But let's go back and review what you have the right to and what people have used this right to do in this country. Now, let's go back. Let's not even look at HIPAA right now, even though that would be the most relevant thing to this. Let's look back at this for just a second. Do you know what Roe versus Wade actually is? Roe versus Wade, they say, is the right to abortion. It's the right for everyone to have an abortion. It's a right for a woman to have an abortion up to 9 months. Like, as the baby's crowning, they can have another abortion. That's Roe versus Wade. That's not what Roe versus Wade is, by the way. Do you know what Roe versus Wade is? It's a right to privacy. It's a right to medical privacy on any practice or procedure, no matter what it is. That's why these shout your abortion people they drive me so nuts, because you were given the right to privacy. So be private about it. But that's what it is. This isn't HIPAA by any stretch of the imagination. This is the sanctioned law that everyone over on the left loves with all of their hearts. Roe versus Wade. Protect Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade. That's your right to privacy. And by Roe versus Wade, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I can't believe I'm about to say this, is right. Nobody has one goddamn red reason without a warrant to ask you what your medical status is. Now, if they have a warrant, if they can get one from a court, and it has something to do with civil suit, then yes, by a warrant, then they can ask you about this. But otherwise, they have no reason to ask you what your vaccination status is. Especially if vaccines work, for God's sake. That's the other thing of this. No vaccine out there. There is not a vaccine out there that is protecting the other person. That is protecting you. And if the vaccine works, then you shouldn't be able to get sick, no matter who around you doesn't wear a mask. This entire rewriting of medical history at this point is them trying to take control. It's not communistic. But this is another thing out there. Well, all these Republicans are crazy. I'm going to debunk. I'm debunking. Oh my God. I got to find the debunker meme. I got to find that because the Chad debunker. Somebody find that for me. Put it in my Discord. The links are in the... well, I don't know if they're actually still rotating or not, because I haven't seen one for a while. But yeah, somebody go put that in my Discord. All right. Swipe right for vaccines from Forbes. White House partners with popular dating apps to promote COVID-19 shots. From Siladitya Ray. The White House is partnering with 9 popular dating apps to encourage Americans to get vaccinated by offering special perks to users who have received their COVID-19 shot in an attempt to overcome a slowdown in the rollout due to vaccine hesitancy among some people. 14%, the percentage represents how many more matches people receive on OkCupid if they're either vaccinated or plan to get vaccinated soon over those who don't, according to research released by the dating app. According to data published by the CDC, around 60% of all adults in the U.S. have received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine, with the country having administered a total of nearly 280 million jabs. After taking office in January, President Joe Biden set a goal of administering 100 million jabs in his 100 days in the White House after the U.S. managed to more than double that goal. Biden set a fresh target, aiming to ensure that at least 70% of all U.S. adults receive at least one dose of the vaccine by the July 4th holiday. However, the country's vaccine rollout has slumped from a peak 7-day average of 3.3 million daily shots in early April to around 1.6 million daily shots right now. Along with the partnership with dating apps, the admin is also working with NASCAR, country music organizations, social media, and rural organizations to reach out to those who are hesitant about taking the shot. Once again, you ruin the idea of taking the shot by calling it mandatory. Here's one of the other things that I found interesting over this vaccine thing. There were a lot of people before the election who were actually, like me, they were excited by what the free market did. They were excited to go out and get the vaccine, especially if it came out under Trump. There were a lot of MAGA people who came out and said, it came out under Trump, I want to go and get it because it's the Trump vaccine and I want to go and get it. And then Biden came in and he started talking about mandatory. And what have I said from the beginning? Good ideas are rarely mandatory. When they start telling you you have to take this to participate in decent society without being a second-class citizen, that's when I start having questions. Like, why is this mandatory? What is so important about this particular vaccine that that you have to mandate it, that you have to ostracize and punish people who aren't getting it? That's where I start having questions and having problems with this. But they're reaching out to everybody. They're trying to get you in every part of your life. It's like Jehovah's Witnesses. Excuse me, sir. Have you heard the good news? Would you like this magazine that tells you about how you can be saved by our Lord and Savior, Dr. Anthony Fauci? Please, just take the good news and read the good news. And we promise. Don't. Take the good news. No, I look in there. It looks like you're home. It's like the fucking Watchtower at this point. All right, let's grab another one here from the Daily Wire. Maybe. It's got to think for a second. We're getting towards the end of the program here. Plus, we're going to go rate Stephen Ignoramus in a little bit. We got just a few more. This actually went a little bit quicker than I thought it was going to, with 35 tabs. I say quicker, and I look over and I see that we've been on for an hour and 28 minutes, so maybe not so quicker. From the Daily Wire, a quarter of Americans say that COVID-19 pandemic is over. Poll from Joseph Curl. When will the commie fucking coof be over? For more than a quarter of Americans surveyed, it's already finished. In a nationwide poll conducted May 14th to 16th of more than 1,500 people by the Convention of States Action and the Trafalgar Group, respondents were asked, when will you personally consider the commie coof pandemic over and go about life as usual? More than a quarter agreed with the answer that I believe it was serious, but it's already over. Another 26.4% they believe the COVID-19 pandemic is over when the federal government and the CDC tell them so. Nearly a fifth said the pandemic will be over when everyone has the opportunity to take the vaccine, which they do, and 11.1% said they never took the virus seriously. Pollsters also found that 42.2% of those surveyed are losing confidence in Dr. Fauci. Another 31.1% said it had decreased significantly, while 11.1% said it had decreased. Still, 22.1% said their confidence has increased, while another 26.1% said it was unchanged. Yeah, it's over at this point. And really, honestly, it's not about what the CDC told these people. It's not about whether or not they plan to go back to their normal lives. It's not about any of that. Honestly, if you look at what's going on here, as my browser locks up, so we will see what's going on with that, and if I get kicked off in just a second. But, as we're going, one of the things to look at with this is the fact that, yeah, they stopped scrolling the death counter at the bottom of CNN. They stopped making every fifth fucking story about this. Now it's all about the vaccine. Have you got the vaccine? Have you accepted the truth? Have you got the vaccine? The vaccine? The vaccine? Have you got the vaccine? Do you have the vaccine? Will you get the vaccine? Tell me you get the vaccine. Do you want the vaccine? Get the vaccine. That's what the new one is. And, the new counter is how many people got vaccinated and what they're doing with this around the world. Which also makes me nervous, by the way, but that's another story for another time. But with that, yeah, it's over. They're not making as big of a fuss out of it anymore. Now people are just, why am I wearing this mask again? I don't remember. It's been so long, I just accepted it as faith and fate. But yeah, it's over. The narrative lost control, and even if Trump had been reelected, which I do still believe that the outcry to this was to get Trump elected, because look at H1N1, and that's another comparison I found over the weekend too, was H1N1, and the political differences in the country at the time that the bird flu H1N1 came out, versus this. And honestly, H1N1 was probably more deadly, but we're sitting here, and we see the statistics. People in a motorcycle accident who were counted as a COVID death, despite the fact that they bashed their fucking skull open on the back of a semi, were counted as a commie coof death. So yeah, of course the numbers are going to look different, but there's also the fact of this. Okay, let's go back and look. Is this... How was the response different from something else that looked like at the time? And I remember when H1N1 first came up, and people were talking about it left and right. When H1N1 first showed up, everyone thought this was going to be the next Spanish flu. But the media didn't cover it, exasperatedly, screaming, yelling every chance that they could, and governments didn't shut their constituencies down. This was all political. And now that the politics match what the mainstream media says, they can't go back and report on it breathlessly anymore. All right, I've got one. Oh, this one's funny. You'll like this one. I got a tweet here. Uberfact says, what's the most high-risk, low-reward thing you've ever done? Monica Lewinsky with the eyes emoji. I love that. That's going on the show tonight, you guys. That's hilarious. All right, let's talk about Coconut Mommy, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard tweets this out, and she got a lot of attention for this one. Mayor Lightfoot's blatant anti-white racism is abhorrent. I call upon President Biden, Kamala Harris, and other leaders of the country of all races to join me in calling for Mayor Lightfoot's resignation. Our leaders must condemn all racism, including anti-white. And Jess A. Patriot, JS Brads over on Twitter, who's a good follow as well. Go and follow him over there. He follows me. Did you see this? And this is a Babylon Bee tweet screenshotted here. The Babylon Bee tweets out, Lori Lightfoot flees in terror after Thomas Sowell takes her up on offer for black people to interview her. And what did I say? What did I say on Friday when we talked about this? Mr. Behavior, hey, Behavior, where are you? I need you to go interview somebody for me. Could you do this for me? Of course, he didn't get this. He didn't reach out to me, but yeah. I want to see if he'll go do that. All right. Let's talk a bit about this tweet, though, from Fox 32 Chicago. Tulsi Gabbard calls on Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to resign for anti-whiteness. From Louis Cassiano. Former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard accused Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Friday of harboring anti-white racism and has called for her to step down over her remarks this week about the city's media landscape. In a tweet, Gabbard, a one-time Democratic presidential candidate from Hawaii, also called on President Biden and other leaders to join her. That's the tweet we just read. Lightfoot, a Democrat who is the city's first black and openly gay mayor, has come under fire after announcing she would only grant individual interviews to journalists of color. She also criticized the city's media outlets for their overwhelming whiteness and maleness in a 2-page letter on Wednesday. And yeah, that's absolutely good, because you shouldn't be... Your skin color for any situation whatsoever should not be your basis for judging somebody, ever, for any reason whatsoever, no matter what. That should not be your basis, but that seems to be what we're getting. We're getting to the point where we're segregating again. And Biden wants to talk about Jim Crow on steroids, and it's his party doing it once again. That's the worst part of it. And as I will always say on disclaimer, Coconut Mommy is abhorrent on guns, is a blatant outright socialist. But she is an ally. She understands the culture war, and we do need to come back and win the culture war if we're going to win the political war. And we can make deals with Tulsi Gabbard. She's actually seems like she'd be willing to work with some people. No, I don't agree with her stance on guns or the economy. But politics is still downstream of culture. So I've never been able to completely write Tulsi Gabbard off, because I know that she can come back and help. All right, I have got one of the most horrifying stories I've heard in a very, very long time. From the Casper Star Tribune. U.S. House candidate Bouchard says he was impregnated a 14-year-old when he was 18. From Victoria Evis. U.S. House candidate Anthony Bouchard had a relationship with and impregnated a 14-year-old girl when he was 18, he told the Star Tribune late Thursday, hours after he disclosed the relationship in a Facebook Live video to his supporters. Bouchard, who did not specify the girl's age in the video, said he went public with the information to get out of the story after learning that people were investigating it in opposition to his candidacy. A Wyoming state senator since 2017, Bouchard has risen in prominence since announcing he would challenge Rep. Cheney following her vote to impeach then-President Trump. So, bottom line, it's a story. When I was young, 2 teenagers, girl gets pregnant, he said in the Facebook Live video. You've heard those stories before. She was a little younger than me, so it's like the Romeo and Juliet story. Bouchard told the Star Tribune that he married the girl when she was 15 and he was 19. At the time, they were both living in Florida. No, I'm not going to go there. The two were legally able to get married at the time because Florida law stated that people could marry at any age with the judge's approval if a pregnancy was involved and a parent consented according to a lawmaker. Details surrounding the age of consent laws in Florida in the early 80s are unclear, but the state's current age of consent is 18. The Star Tribune reached out to the Florida State Bar, Florida State University College of Law, the Florida AG, public defenders, current and former prosecutors, and multiple law firms, and none of them were able to offer substantial answers on Florida's laws concerning age of consent at the time. Bouchard said that he was never charged with a crime in connection with the relationship. The lawmaker said he was pressured to abort the baby. I wasn't going to do it, and neither was she, he said, and there was pressure to have her banished from the family. Just pressure to go and hide somewhere. And the only thing I could see as the right thing to do was to get married and take care of him. They got divorced approximately 3 years later. Bouchard's ex-wife killed herself when she was 20. He said online records list a woman with her name as dying in Jacksonville in 1990 and being buried in Georgia. The Star Tribune is choosing not to identify her. She had problems in another relationship. Her dad had committed suicide, Bouchard said in the video. So there is a lot to go on with this. There is a lot of stuff to talk about with this. Now, this is not... What was the judge's name in Georgia? I can't think of it. The guy that ran against Doug Jones. I can't think of it. I can see his face. But, I mean, this is not the same situation. That was a dude in his 20s that was going into his late 20s to go and try and pick up girls who were underage at the mall. Within the age of consent, but still going. This is not that situation. But regardless... Is there not anybody else in Wyoming that could do this? Now, as far as what they did, that is beyond old news. That's 30 years old at this point. Both parties did consent to what happened with this. Both the parent party consented to this. But that doesn't make it right, you guys. And the worst part of this is this guy is, I mean, he's trying to run here. I understand that Wyoming is a very, very low population state. But can't there be anybody else out there that could run instead of this dude? Anybody. Fuck, I'll move to Wyoming and run against her so we don't have to talk about this dude. Is there nobody else? Get rid of this guy. Get him out of your fucking party too. Because he can't come up with the details. He can't do this right. And even still, this was probably somewhere off of an ethical decision that he shouldn't have done. Regardless. Yeah, get rid of this dude. Get rid of this dude. All right, let's grab one from the Associated Press. Epstein guards to skirt jail time and deal with prosecutors. From Michael Balsamo. 2 Bureau of Prisons workers tasked with guarding Jeffrey Epstein the night he killed himself in a New York jail have admitted they falsified records, but they will skirt any time behind bars under a deal with federal prosecutors, authorities said on Friday. The prison workers, Tova Noel and Michael Thomas, were accused of sleeping and browsing the internet instead of monitoring Epstein the night he took his own life on August 2019. Yes, took his own life. They were charged with lying on prison records and make it seem as though they had made required checks on the financier before he was found in a cell. The New York City's medical examiner ruled Epstein's death a suicide, but he totally did not kill himself. As part of the deal with prosecutors, they will enter into a deferred prosecution agreement with the Justice Department and serve no time behind bars, according to a letter from federal prosecutors that was filed in court papers on Friday. Noel and Thomas would instead be subjected to supervised release, would be required to complete 100 hours of community service, and would be required to fully cooperate with an ongoing probe by the Justice Department's Inspector General, it says. The two have admitted they willfully and knowingly completed materially false count and round slips regarding the required counts and rounds in the housing unit where Epstein was being held, the letter says. The deal would need to be approved by a judge, which could happen as soon as next week. Attorneys for the guards did not immediately respond to messages seeking comment. Yeah, they're going to go roll over on somebody and not get anything out of it. And this is all going to disappear as well. But it's interesting to come back and see how much problem there was around this entire investigation from the start, and he totally didn't kill himself. And I got a feeling that this is going to come out at some point too. All right, from KBTX. This came to us via the Discord server. If you guys are in the Discord or the Gilded, you can leave articles, and if I can find something green check verified to run with them, I will read them up on air. There were some this weekend that I had to skip, both for time constraints and for the fact that there was no green check verification. And some of them were old, but I will look into everything that you guys put in there and see if there's something that we can do with this. From KBTX, statewide ban on homeless encampments approved by Texas Senate. From Reese Oxner. The Texas Senate on Thursday approved a bill to ban homeless encampments throughout Texas, a response to the city of Austin lifting a similar location ban 2 years ago that was recently reinstated by voters. House Bill 1925 would make camping in an unapproved public place a Class C misdemeanor punishable by a fine of $500. The bill calls for law enforcement officials to redirect homeless people to available local resources, such as shelters or nonprofit groups, at that time they issue a citation. The House bill approved the bill earlier this month. The Senate passed the bill along with 2 amendments Thursday and sent the bill back to the House, which can either accept the amendments and send it to the governor or send it to a conference committee to work out the chamber's differences. Immediately after the vote, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said the bill passed 28-3, but the Senate Journal later reported the vote was 27-4. If the bill becomes law, it will mark the latest instance of a Republican-led state overruling a local ordinance. The law comes after 57% of Austin residents voted to reinstate the city's ban earlier this month, 2 years after it was lifted by the city council, a move that critics say triggered the proliferation of tent cities throughout the city. Some 10,000 people are estimated to have experienced homelessness in the last year within the city. That's a bunch of people, but it's also a warm and, I think, relatively arid climate too, so yeah, there've got to be better resources than just pitching a tent on the side of a park, on the side of a sidewalk. But hopefully that they can find a way to do this and get this done so that both we can have a situation where people can find help, the help that they need, and don't have to be sitting out in the middle of Main Street, where it's easy to get robbed or raped or killed or something else like that too. I mean, it's not just that people don't want to see the eyesores of the tents, but, I mean, you're not being offered with a lot of protection. And a lot of times you're staying along main drags and main streets. I'd hate to see something happen to these people. I really would. So let's get out there, get them help, the help that they need, and figure out what the balance is between giving them the world on a stick, as the far left wants to do, and just kicking them out the city limits and to be pariahs on society, as the hard right wants to do. Let's find the balance in between and figure out what we can do for both the safety of the people and the safety of the community. All right, one more here. Then we will do a rule of acquisition and head on out of here for the day. Come on, think faster. Maybe. Come on, you only have to hold on for a little bit longer, old computer. Come on, old girl, only a little bit more. We might have to skip this one because it's going to take forever. And that's one thing too, the Blaze seems to take forever on reloads because of the ads that I have to allow, because otherwise they won't let me look at it. Manhattan parents appalled at porn literacy class at elite $47,000 prep school teaching kids about kink and BDSM. From Paul Saka. Parents and students at an elite $47,000 a year private school in New York are shocked and mortified about a porn literacy class that was added to the curriculum without their knowledge. The risque courses for juniors at Manhattan's prestigious Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School introduce teens to adult-themed topics such as kink and BDSM. Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School in the Upper West Side was founded in 1764 and is the oldest non-sectarian independent school in New York City. In 2015, Business Insider named the institution as one of the 9 most elite prep schools in New York City. Former President Trump's son Barron attended the distinguished school. Now the school is being condemned for the new porn literacy class that some say is indoctrinating kids. Read more, please. Maybe. Come on. Come on, old girl. Just a little bit more. Give me a couple more contemporaries, please. I don't know. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to read the rest of the... Oh, there it goes. Students between age 16 and 17 attended a health and sexuality workshop which most believed would be a sex ed class. Instead, the teens were educated on everything about porn. The course, which was officially titled Pornography Literacy, an intersectional focus on mainstream porn, featured a list of the most searched porn terms in 2019. The often explicit slide presentation and lecture by Fonte to the 120 boys and girls included in the lessons on how porn takes care of 3 big male vulnerabilities: statistics on the orgasm gap, showing straight women have far fewer orgasms with their partners than gay men or women, and photos of the partially nude women, some in bondage, to analyze what is porn and what is art, according to the New York Post. One of the topics taught to the teen girls and boys in the course was the marketability of OnlyFans, which is the subscription app where adults sell nude and explicit images and videos of themselves. The porn class was taught by Justine Ang Fonte, the Director of Health and Wellness at another elite prep school, Dalton. Fonte's website boasts that she has reveled in disrupting health and education for 10 years. We were all like, what? A female student told the Post. Everyone was texting each other. What the hell is this? It's so stupid. Everyone knows about porn. The worst part is that it took place not long before the AP tests, and I had to miss both my AP classes for this. And, well, we're going to get locked up and kicked out of this again, because now the browser is frozen. So we'll give that a second to catch up, and then we can get back up on. There it goes. Let's see how many frames we lost in that situation. All right. And we're back. We're finishing this out. But, yeah, I mean, we are seeing there's something else that we've got to pay attention to with this. And it goes with the discussion that we've had. Now, we've seen the OnlyFans market and the Pornhub market because everybody with a smartphone can be a porn star at this point. They can go take the video of whatever the fuck they want and put it up there for people to decide whether or not to consume or to not consume. We've come to that point. Why, oh why, are we still locking up again? God, we went the whole show without doing this. We'll give that a second to catch back up. I think we're caught back up. Yeah, we're looking at the fact that anybody with a smartphone can either be a softcore adult star or a hardcore adult star, and can either be on Pornhub or you live on advertisement revenue, which, I mean, there's a bunch of it. Although Pornhub has walked away and lost a lot of its revenue because of the model that they brought back up. I mean, there's either that or you've got OnlyFans where you've got direct subscription services because Patreon was kicking off the adult models. A lot of this is being pushed away, but we have also got a lot of movements where they're starting to realize that the addiction to porn is destroying young men's lives. We're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot more people. My friend Steven, myself, I'm moving further into this. My friend Saint is doing this. Where these people are starting to realize that, no, we shouldn't be doing this. This is bad. And you're starting to lose some of the revenue. So work on, get it in school. And something that used to be something that you hid underneath your bed and didn't talk about is now something that comes back out in the mainstream to try and get another generation hooked on this stuff. Because once they're not out looking at porn anymore, they can go out and start to repopulate the world. Start to bring back some of this trad life. Be better husbands, not porn addicted. Keep their marriages, not end in divorce, and sometimes one person, sometimes both people on public assistance. There's so much to go on with this. But now we've got these private schools that are trying to get them hooked and keep them hooked as well. So, yeah, there's a lot more to it. All right. And that's going to be it for the news today. So, with that, we finish out on Mondays always with one of the rules of acquisition. And those of you over on Twitch, do keep in mind that we are going to be moving on over after this and raiding my friend Stephen Ignoramus. So make sure that you hang around and stick with that. But before we do that, we are going to take the rules of acquisition. We're actually on the second rule number 2 because there was a discrepancy between Strange New Worlds, which I believe was a book. I don't know what Strange New Worlds was. And the 34th Rule, a Deep Space Nine novel as well. So we read about the best deal is the one that brings the most profit last week. So we're going to do the other rule too. The second rule of acquisition is money is everything. Now, for Ferengi, That was the way that they went. I mean, capitalism was their religion in Ferengi society. So it's not hard to come back and see a second rule of acquisition, that money is everything. But looking at this and looking at the way that this can be applied in normal human interaction and normal human society, there is a lot to look at with this as well. So money is everything is maybe, I think a lot of people in human society would look at this, especially if they have red roses in their profile. They would look at this and they would say that this is a dangerous rule of acquisition, but I don't agree with this. Now, one of the things to look at is not just money, but money it's a medium of exchange. And people in human society will look at money and say it's the root of all evil. Whereas in reality, it's only just a medium for exchanging labor in a specified rate. That's why we look at this. And we look at the Democrat regimes. Obama, Biden, Harris, Clinton, even to an extent, where they do everything by just going back off and printing money. Because they think that if they throw money at everything, then it's going to solve everybody's problems and nobody's going to have to worry about anything. But you still have to worry about that exchange of labor. The exchange of labor and services is what's actually everything. Money is just a way to incrementalize it. You feel good after you've done a hard day's work and somebody wants to come in and buy the work that you produce. That somebody wants to shop at your store. That somebody wants to buy your service. That somebody wants to watch your news podcast. You feel good about that. Exchange of service. Now, I've said I don't do this for the money. I actually do have a good job. I'd like to do this for the money, but that's going to depend on how good you guys think that I do. You guys can always throw a donation, but I am never going to make this behind a paywall. Contemporary and the Rednet Show will always be on a strictly donation platform. So you tell me how good I'm doing with your money and your dollars. But you don't have to. You don't have to. It's never been a requirement to come in here. I appreciate every single time somebody hits the Buy Me a Coffee link, every single time somebody hits the PayPal link and throws me a little bit, every single time somebody subscribes to Subscribestar. I appreciate that. But it's the exchange of services that's important to me. And it's the same thing we can look at this. Money incrementalizes this, but still remember that the exchange of services will always be the most important part of this. Money is everything. Exchange of services is everything. Commerce is everything. So we found another way that Ferengi life, as much as they tried to characterize it as an evil thing, but trust Roddenberry for doing something like that, can still be applied to human society. So go out today and exchange your services for those of somebody else's. And use your money as a medium to do so. All right. We're going to head on out of here. We're going to throw some music up here. We'll go. Those of you over on Twitch, hang tight for just a second. We're going to go rate Stephen Ignoramus. So let's throw some music up. Let's do that first. All right, so thanks everybody who came by and hung out. If you are just lurking right now, get those last minute messages in so I can remember to thank you, because I do keep the notes on everybody who chats because, well, we've got a small enough community right now and I can individually thank everybody. I just need to know that you're here. So throw that last minute message in. We will be back here later on tonight for the Rednet Show. We've got a lot of stuff to discuss, including the 1/6 Commission and Epstein not killing himself and the ceasefire over in Israel and Gaza. So make sure you come by and hang out with that. We are very divided, Elaine and I, on what happens in Israel and what that means for the rest of the world. So come back and see us argue about this as well. I think that's going to be still a big part of the show. So looking forward to seeing you guys there. Otherwise, we'll be back here bright and early. We're not going to do it late like we did today, but we'll be back here bright and early tomorrow with more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.